Another week, another Arkansas football recruiting report. Jacob Morris joined by Otis Kirk as always. And Otis, we're smack dab right in the middle of the spring portal window. It's all anybody wants to talk about. And just like seemingly every other team in the country, Arkansas has been active already as well. Larry Worth, linebacker formerly of Jacksonville State, commits on Saturday. And we knew this would be an area that Arkansas was going to target. Sam Pittman was open about that. They like what they have in the room, but there's some experience issues, not a lot of depth. And Arkansas gets their guy in the form of Worth, and the linebacker room gets an addition already in the spring window.
Yeah, that room is not only young, but they're inexperienced as well. And that doesn't mean they can't play. As you and I have talked about before, I mean, though the only way you get experience is play. But what I like about adding another linebacker, particularly someone who's got 2 years of playing experience there, is it gives you another option in case you think you know what you've got, but when you get in a game and the lights come on Saturday, maybe the stage is too big that day for whatever reason. Maybe the kid's not feeling well, whatever. And this gives you another option, a quality option, a guy who's been there and done that. He had 63 tackles, 28 solos, 6 for loss, 4 sacks, an interception, 2 pass breakups, 3 quarterback hurries. He forced a fumble, recovered 1. Pitt and Minnesota were all over him, offered him a scholarship, of course, in addition to Arkansas. And 6'4", 220. He's a tall linebacker. And he told me yesterday, Jacob, that the one thing he looked forward to about the SEC is just that it will give the scouts a chance to see him playing against the best. And, he said the SEC is the best conference, and it'll give you a chance to see the scouts to see you against better competition. And there's no doubt the SEC prepares these kids for the NFL because it's just a mini NFL, minor league of the NFL, however you want to describe it. But the NFL drafts this week, and we know the SEC will probably dominate it. They usually do. And when Texas and OU get here, it's going to be even more so. But no, I like this pickup. They brought in another linebacker, but I think this was the way to go. This kid's very athletic. He played wide receiver and outside linebacker in high school down in Baldwin, down in high school in Florida, and he's very athletic. He can run. Reminds me a little bit of Quentin Caver, the way he's built, just a tall kid, long linebacker. Not as tall as Quentin, but that's who he's kind of built. That's who he reminded me of when I was talking to him. But that was a good pickup for Sam. They got better yesterday. They definitely got better, and you got Xavier Sorey Jr., you've got Brad Spence, you got all the other freshmen, younger guys. And then, of course, you still got Bradley Shaw and White Simmons coming in this fall or this summer. I'm sorry. They'll be here late May, early June. But that's 2 more guys, quality high school players. But this is what you want to build. Travis Williams done a great job rebuilding that room. They lost 4 to the portal, and everybody panicked. And it did look bleak for a while. But Travis didn't freak out. He just went out and he did what you got to do. When you lose 4, you go get you 6 or 7. That's how you work, man. You go get you 2 from the portal. You get you 3, I believe, from the high school and 2 from the portal. So I mean, I think he only signed 3 high school kids. I know he's got 2 coming in, and the Logan kid was already here in the spring. So I think 5 linebackers, new linebackers. You lose 4, you go sign 5. And but this kid. Larry will help him. He'll play and gives them quality piece there to go along with what they've got. And I think he fits perfectly in that mix.
I think it's been really interesting in the spring, like you said. Understandably, a lot of people pressed the panic button on that linebacker room when you had the mass exodus. And then when Sam Pittman and the defensive coaches have been asked in the spring, what position group, what players have you been pleasantly surprised with? We've heard time and time again, it's the linebackers, right? And so, like you said, you don't know how they're going to perform come fall. So that's why a move like this is really important. However, it's been a pleasant surprise that a position we thought maybe would be a black hole on the roster, maybe not so much so with the quality of player they got in there.
Well, he had a chance to be the strength of the defense. Yeah. If not the strength, certainly one of them. And I like every kid they've got on that linebacker room. I'm sorry, they did bring in 4 high school. I forgot about Juju Pope.
Yeah.
So they did bring in 6 linebackers. I knew there was one I was leaving out. It's Juju Pope. Of course, he was recruited as an athlete who could play different positions, but they had him at linebacker. So there were 6 line. T. Will brought in 6 linebackers, and so far. And I will he bring in another portal kid? I doubt it, but I mean they've got. We'll talk about that later, but they've got some scholarships left to give, so I wouldn't rule out anything. Only they know for sure. But I look for this pretty much to be it at linebacker, especially when you consider, like we talked about, Bradley Shaw and White Simmons, 2 kids that are really good high school kids coming in the next month or so, getting ready to report. And so, I think they're sitting pretty good at linebacker, right? They're doing all they can do. I mean, when you lose kids, you go get something to replace them, and that's what T. Will did. And Travis has gone out and got kids, and hurt to lose Pooh Paul, but the only way you can get better is replace him and try to get good players, and I think he's done that.
Yeah, that's the new era of college football, right? It's kind of like it's a little math equation. You lose 4, well, you got to go find 4 elsewhere. You can't wait around. That's what
take their place. It's just that simple. I mean, it's simple math, man. I mean, you can feel sorry for yourself, or you can go out and recruit yourself out of the hole. And I feel like Williams and that staff, not just Travis, but the whole staff, has done that. They've gone out and they've recruited hard, and I think the results they got better yesterday. I'll say that. And I know we're getting ready to talk about Rodney Hill too, but they got better yesterday. And these are 2 kids who are classy kids, very nice, polite kids, and I like both of them, and I like where they're going with this, and I feel like that I mean, they've done a good job evaluating. They signed 13 transfers at midterm. 8 of those kids at the end of spring were starters.
Yeah,
that's pretty good, and that's not counting Matthew Shipley as the kicker, who I guess would be technically would be the starter. That would be 9. But 8 position players out of the 13. And not only, and I'm going to get off the subject, I'll get back on real quick, but the thing about signing those 3 offensive linemen, you got Blackstock and Carmona, it allowed you to move Patrick Kudus inside. He's not really a tackle. He can play it, but he's a guard, a natural fit at guard. And getting Blackstock and Carmona allowed you to move that kid. So now you're sitting with everybody at their strength of position, and not like Florida asked Braun to go out to tackle. He didn't like that. Now you've got 2 guards who prefer to play guard, or guards. You've got 2 tackles who prefer to play tackle, or tackle. And then you've got Addison Nichols at center. So I think they've done a very good job recruiting. When you go out and get you 8 or 9 new starters out of the semester from the portal, you've done your job. Somebody said, well, it's not ranked in the top 10. I don't care where it's ranked. I go by results on the field. And not only that, but I mean, Taylor Green had a heck of a half at that red-white game and all spring. Jaquindon Jackson, man, that kid can play. I don't care where they're ranked. I just go by what I see on the field.
Yeah, and I think it's been interesting. Coach Pittman stayed true to the philosophy that he said he was going to employ with the portal. He's been very clear. It's not his favorite thing, but you got to use it and, build your program by recruiting and developing, and then supplant with the transfer portal, bring in and fill holes that you need. And that's what Arkansas has done. And that's the perfect segue to talk a little Rodney Hill. Arkansas loses a running back to the portal after the spring game last week. Isaiah Gustav hits it pretty much just hours after he played in the spring portal. And not long after, Rodney Hill, former Florida State, Florida A&M running back, he commits and joins a running back room that, Otis, we talked last week, sneakily has become one of the deepest position groups on Arkansas's roster.
Yeah, here's the deal with Rodney. He was the number 2 portal running back last spring at midterm. They had him. If Jaquindon Jackson goes elsewhere, Rodney Hill's probably here at midterm. He was number 2 on that board that I know of. And but they got Jaquindon. And so Rodney went to Florida A&M, didn't practice there, though, in the spring, did not go through spring. But he's here now. He told me, I'm a country boy, man. I love to hunt and fish. I had no idea this place is nice. The kid comes from a school in Georgia, and before he went to Florida State. 2 years at Florida State, he had 77 carries, 337 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 5 passes for 83 yards. And he told me, he said, look, man, it's not about me. It's about the team. And if I can help on running back, special teams, wherever they need me, that's where I'm gonna help them at. He's 5'10", 190, and I like his attitude. I'm gonna be honest with you. He's bounced around some. He went to Florida State, but he committed to Miami, then recommitted to Florida State. He went to Florida. I didn't know what to expect, and I was really impressed with it. Just got a good head on his shoulders. I don't know what all's going on with his recruiting, but I do know he's happy to get a chance to play at Arkansas. He had no idea it was that nice, and he almost was a Razorback at midterm, but he is now, and they're better for it. And you need 5 scholarship players. That's a position where people get hurt, and and he understands you're going to ride the hot hand, and there may be times where he plays on special teams. There may be times where he carries the ball 15 times. But yeah, Rodney also made a good point. The days of tailback getting 50 carries with the size of defensive players now, those days are long gone, man. He knows that. I mean, used to people want 40. These running backs always talk about they want 40, 50 carries. You can't do that. These guys, that was back when defensive linemen were as big as the running back. Now you've got guys 300-something pounds that can run a 4.6, 4.7. Watch the draft this week, man. You've got some freaks out there on defense, man. And you can't stand up to that 40 and 50. You'll get killed back there carrying the ball 40. And Rodney knows that. And he pointed out, like I said, Jake, this kid's got a good head on his shoulders. I don't know what's going on with his recruiting. I have no idea and don't care, but I do know he's talking to him. He's got a very good head on his shoulders. His mother's a nice person, and he really, at least let me put it this way, he said all the right things. Now, if he carries that out, he's going to be fine here because he said all the right things. I liked the attitude he brought, and I didn't know what to expect, but I was really impressed. I was blown away, and I think the Arkansas fans are going to love this kid. He said, "I'm a country boy. I love to hunt and fish. Obviously he can play." Florida State didn't go out. They went undefeated, so they've got a good team. So they know what playing football at Florida down in Tallahassee is, and so, but he'll be here. And by the way, I was telling Alyssa yesterday, the running back coach at Florida State gave him very high marks. Arkansas checked him out with the Florida State running back coach, and there was nothing bad there. I mean, gave him very high marks to the Arkansas staff about Rodney. So I feel good about this kid. I like him, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, Isaiah was third string. I don't know it. I don't know if this kid's above fourth or fifth string because you've got Braylon. You and I talked about Braylon Russell last week. We've talked about him other time. I mean, Braylon Russell, Sam said, going to get carries. But regardless of that, they're going to need running backs, and Rodney's going to be there to help them. And I like his attitude. I definitely think Arkansas got a lot better yesterday with those two kids, and they're not finished in the portal. They're not finished, but getting those two kids will help. And it was a good start. It gave you some momentum anyway. You needed momentum. It's the first week of it, and to pick up 2 quality players, 2 pieces who have played and had success. I think that's a good week then.
Yeah, I think there's 2 things with the Rodney situation that's really interesting. The first being, you took the words out of my mouth, right? Gone are the days of the bell cow tailback, right? Oh, yeah. I think we just know better in terms of preserving running backs for the pros potentially, and also just getting the best reps out of the guys that you have. So it helps to have multiple quality options at running back. You're not going to run a guy into the ground anymore. But second of all, like you discussed, injuries are a big thing with running backs. You don't have to go back further. Do you remember what we all thought Rocket Sanders was going to do last year? And before the season, injury concerns happen and other guys have to step up. Now you have another guy that's played at Florida State, a team that went undefeated a season ago, to potentially give you carries there. It's nice to have, in the same kind of vein as the linebacker conversation, it's depth. Depth is never a bad thing to have, right?
Never a bad thing, and it's good. You know, Rashad Davinia missed the Florida game because I think a death in the family, our personal issue, I believe. I think it was a death in the family. You know, he missed the Florida game. You've had Rockets was hurt 3 or 4 or 5, whatever number of games. So as you pointed out, you know, Dominic's had surgery on both knees. So you need, Braylon fought injuries in high school. Yeah. Braylon Russell did. Jaquindon said at press conference, he said earlier this spring, he said he played hurt all last year, So, yeah, I mean, that's a position where people are going to get hurt. They're going to get hurt. Maybe they don't miss that much time. Maybe they do. But, yeah, you need 5, and that was a good pickup for them. like I said, Rodney was this close to picking up an offer and coming to Arkansas in the first session of the portal at midterm, but they got Jaquindon and Jaquindon's a very good running back, man. But yeah, so that I like that. I like what they did yesterday. They got better and both in linebacker and running back, and that's two positions where they need to get better at and more depth, deeper anyway, especially at running back. They needed that fifth piece there.
And switching over to the defensive side here, 2 defensive tackle prospects. It's kind of interesting. Arkansas maybe looking to shore up some D-line depth. What are you hearing on both of those guys in the trenches in the defensive line?
And Anthony Johnson technically is from Illinois, but he didn't play there. He went through spring, but he played at Youngstown State last year. 6'3", 295-pound defensive tackle. He's got it down. He's already narrowed it down to Arkansas, Pittsburgh, Mississippi State, and Michigan State. Probably Pitt's the leader, but he quit the Illinois team, and I saw a quote from Bielema saying that he quit the team, and he played at Youngstown State last year. Was pretty productive there. And then C.J. West is the other kid who Arkansas fans should remember played against Arkansas in the second game of the season, if I'm not mistaken, Kent State. Yeah. He only had a tackle in that game, but he's 6'2", 315 pounds. Johnson's 6'3", 295. I don't know if I said that, but West is 6'2", 315 pounds. Man, West blew up in the portal. California, Michigan, Texas A&M, Hogs, Wisconsin, Kansas State, Colorado, LSU, Miami, Rutgers, and schools have offered him. So, I mean, more. I mean, it's just, just offers, big-time schools. Michigan, the defending national champ, has offered him. LSU, A&M. So, I mean, right now, neither one of those kids have visited Arkansas. Arkansas is trying to get a visit from both of them. They'd love to get those two. They want 2 defensive tackles. They'd love to get these 2. Don't know if that'll happen, but if you could, even if you just get C.J. West and then you can go get you another one, if Johnson does go to Pitt, like I think he will, that would be huge. But yeah, they definitely need defensive tackles. They don't have. What's weird, we talk about these kids coming in May and June and who's here and this and that, but they don't have a defensive tackle in this class. And they unfortunately had one in Deion Stutz. We know that situation. It just, something you don't expect or don't, you just pray doesn't happen, and it did. But they don't have a defensive tackle, so they're going to have to find a couple, whether it be CJ and Johnson or not, somebody else. But CJ West played here against Arkansas, and so he knows kind of. Arkansas won that game 28-6, but he knows what the stadium, what the atmosphere is like and stuff. So if they can get him I think if they get either one of these kids on campus, even though Pitt's supposed to be the leader for Johnson, I think if Arkansas gets either one of these kids on campus, they've got a good shot at them. I mean, they close well when they get them on campus. Just like I said, Rodney Hill yesterday, I cannot believe how nice this place is. He said so much nicer. It's just a common theme. I hear that from every recruit, Jacob. So, I mean, the ones that haven't been here. And just if you can get them on campus with Sam and these guys, that staff, Deke Adams with these 2 kids. We talked about T. Will and we talked about Kobe. And by the way, Kobe Smith played a big role in Rodney Hill too. He feels like Kobe played in the NFL and coached in the NFL, and that helps him. That's impressive to Rodney Hill, the fact that Kobe Smith played and coached in the NFL. So and Deke Adams, so these coaches are doing a good job, and if they can get them on campus, they got a chance. And that's why it's important for Deke to try to get these kids on campus, especially C.J. West. I mean, that kid's good. And you can look at his offers and know, what's happened there. I mean, he's just getting a ton of offers, and you want to try to get him on campus because you need that. Not only can he fill a spot, he can play. And so can Anthony Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting, like you mentioned, Coach Pittman always says, he's hammered it home a bunch of times. He's not bragging. He just says, if we can get somebody on campus, we feel really good about our chances. And that's the big key is if you can get them on campus. And it's interesting. If you can get these guys, you got a pretty good shot at them. But hey, wrapping up here, we got to talk remaining scholarship spots. And this goes back to our math equation conversation. So when you're talking portal, it's how many spots do you have? How many outgoing guys do you have? You kind of keep count. So where's Arkansas at in terms of the math equation scholarship count? What are the Razorbacks looking like?
Saturday, Sam said they had 5. Well, guess what? 4 kids entered the portal, but you bring in Rodney Hill and Larry. So, you bring in those 2 kids, Worth and Hill. And so you're back to 7. We'll go from what he has said. Two defensive tackles. He had said 2 offensive linemen. I'm just wondering with Paris Patterson leaving, though, if that might move up to 3 on the offensive line, and you've got more scholarships than you thought you would have. And then that would be 4 or 5, depending on how many offensive linemen. Wide receiver, he mentioned after the red-white game. Okay, that's 6. And that's 6 if he takes 3 offensive linemen, 5 if he takes 2. Then I would assume with the remaining spots, if let's say no one else leaves, which we don't know if they will or not, but no one else leave. That would leave 2 scholarships. It might be best player available, Jacobs, what it might be. It might just come down to, hey, instead of taking a kid that you don't really like, it might not be a priority. What you might do, you might try to find a younger player at a position that you feel like, hey, even if he doesn't play next year, a year from now, he can help us. That might be the route you go. Probably just the best player available, I would assume, with the other 2 or 3 scholarships they got available. But we know defensive tackle, offensive line, and interior and tackle, and wide receiver are a need. That's at least 5 of the 7. So, and then I like you said, I just think there'll be best player available there. I'm wondering, would they take another kicker, because to me, that was the sore spot over there in the spring was the kicker. I don't think they'd take another kicker from the portal, but stranger things have happened, and then after we talked, the starting punter goes in the portal. But I think people have asked me about that, but I think I really think with Devin Bell, they're fine there. That kid's kicked in Northern Colorado. I'm telling you, he had that 60-yard punt, went out at the 1-yard line, that red-white game. I'm telling you, they're not hurting at punter. I'm not worried about punter. The kickers, it's scary, man. I mean, those guys did not take control of the position. And it wasn't just the red-white game, but it was all those scrimmages that we saw. I mean, Sam said they kicked well on the practice field. I'm sure they did if he says that, but I'm just, you don't play the games on the practice field, and they're not going to go down the practice field and try to kill field goal in the game. You got to kick in that stadium with that wind, and it is weird. But because if it's blowing anywhere, it's going to be blowing that Razorback Stadium. But, I don't think they'd take another kicker from the portal, but God knows stranger things have happened. I don't know. We know two defensive tackles, at least 2 offensive linemen, and a wide receiver are on the list. And then beyond that, we'll see where they go with that. But it'll be interesting to see how they fill this roster. Maybe they would give a walk-on or 2, a scholarship of kids that are on campus right now that impressed them. So we'll see how that plays out.
Should be interesting to follow. For the rest of the spring portal window. We'll see if Arkansas has anybody else leave, has anybody else come to the team. Should be interesting to watch. But that's going to do it for this week's Arkansas Football Recruiting Report. For Otis Kirk, I'm Jacob Morris saying so long. We'll talk to you next week.